So what is shame at its core? Shame is not the experience that I did something bad. It's the experience that I am bad. Our colleague, who's on the board of the center, is one of the most brilliant clinicians of shame in the world, Lori Galperin, right, said shame is the root of all evil. Shame is the experience that I'm broken and the factory that fixes me has closed. I didn't do something wrong. I am wrong. Because I can't distinguish if I actually find it. And we began to find it in the room. You could feel that we began to find it, but you'll feel what happens when we really find it. We started the surface. You could feel the surface is starting to open. We're going to go deeper and deeper. Right? There's a quality to it, right? And everything we said was perfect, obviously. We're surely not going to shame anything we said. It was perfect. But we're going to get even more daring. We're just opening the space. Right? Shame's not I did something wrong. It is that fundamentally I am wrong because my very aliveness, which is inseparable from my goodness, has been rejected. So if you really experience shame, you experience a double bind. And I want to catch this with you, okay? There's a shame double bind. So what's a double bind? And to find the experience in your body, you've got to find what a double bind is. So Gregory Bateson talked about double binds, and he talks about a particular story where he's working with a schizophrenic young man, and by the way, we're all on the spectrum, right? And so those are the crazy people. We got it together, right? Right? We're faking it till we make it more effectively. We're all on the same spectrum. And there's a reason why R.D. Laing, who wrote one of the best works ever written, The Undivided Self, and his colleague, Joseph Burke, who was also very involved with the center. He's a wonderful, wonderful, I think the most brilliant British, kind of therapist of the last 40 years who succeeded Laing, ran a place called the Arbor House in London, right, in which the clinicians, right, and the clients all lived together. And Laing's point was, we're all in this together. We're all on a spectrum. So when you hear me, I'm about to tell a story about a schizophrenic, and I could hear 10 people think, oh, okay, that's not about me. Okay. Right? So stay for a second, okay? So there's this kid who's a beautiful kid. He's like 24, 25. He's got some serious schizophrenia, which is it's not a personality split. That's how we understand it. It's a much deeper disorder. And clearly it's related to his parents, mother, father. And finally he's stabilized. Right? It's taken Bateson, weeks to finally stabilize, and we achieved what's called stabilization. So Bateson feels like, okay, his mother can come visit. So the mother comes to visit, and the mother walks in, right? And she says, just this big, oh my God, it's so great to see you. And then at the very same moment, literally out of the energy of her body, right, her eyes just coldly push him away. And he goes into a schizophrenic fit because he's caught in this double bind, right? Right? I love you. I hate you. I totally care about you. You're the most important thing to me in the world. I don't care about you at all. Right? I despise you. You're in my way. You're a burden. Right? In the movie Don't Look Up, the figure he is shame. You look at him, you're just ashamed to look at him. He's the shameless incarnation of shame is Jason, who's Janie Orlean, the president, Meryl Streep's son. Right? And the entire movie talks about his mother as the president. And then it's only at the very end, right, when they're in the room at Bash, and all the images are written in culture. And as Bash gets up, he says, oh, I'll be right back. And nature calls. Remember that scene? And then the president says, oh yeah, I think I should excuse myself. And then people start realizing what's happening, and he's locked there in his chair, and he keeps saying, remember what he says? He says, she'll be back. She'll be back. That's the sentence that Winnicott describes in Transitional Objects, right? When mother leaves the room and I can't feel her and find her, and I'm desperate to know she'll be back. And he says, like his eyes are glazed, he says, she'll be back. She'll be back. And it turns out he never left that seat. He actually stays in that seat. And then Janie Orlean, right, remember, calls Randall Minnie and says, we've got a plane. He says, of course you have a plane. And he says, remember he said, yes, he says, good luck with Jason. Jason! She didn't bring him. Did you get that? She didn't bring him. He becomes shame itself. Wow. So the double bind, there's an original double bind. And the double bind is, if I live, I die. You get that? Get it in your body. Don't listen musically. I promise we'll send you a transcript. We'll send everybody a transcript of today. So don't write it down. Just feel it, right? In this case, right, just feel it. Everyone will get a transcript, which you can delete if you want. You don't need to read it. But just now I just want you to hear it. Right? If I live, I die. Can you feel that? Right? I'm desperate for my aliveness. But if I live, I die. That's the original double bind. If I live, I die. And that original double bind, now stay with me, right, is recapitulated, and you can't heal it, right? We're not going to do like a little silver bullet into shame. We're going to look to transform shame, but shame is multi-layered and insidious. So we're going to go through layers. And we're doing this not only for each one of us, but we're literally doing this for culture, to heal a culture drenched in shame, and we're identifying shame as a root cause of existential risk. So we're doing this in an entirely different way. So you're willing to step in because you're willing to step into the fire for your sake, for my sake, for our sake, but for the sake of the whole thing. Be willing to do it for the sake of the whole thing. So there's an original shame double bind. And every person has their own, and I want to call it their own shameplex, right? We live inside of an invisible shameplex that we often don't even notice ourselves, which is why the first step, there's 3 phases we're going to go through. We're in phase 1, which is just noticing. And every person has a unique shame print, which is at the very center of their shameplex. Now, the original double bind, right, that original double bind, in which I experience myself as being fundamentally broken, and by the way, shame adheres to sex, and the sexual revolution healed nothing of shame. Because, of course, right, it bypassed shame, and then shame came back, as John Bradshaw pointed out, with a vengeance that was unimaginable. You don't heal shame by taking your clothes off. You heal shame by getting naked. And we're going to try and get naked and actually find our way into the heart of the whole thing. So after the original double bind, there's what I want to call a second set of double binds. And you got to stay in the body, as close to the body as you can, and move between the sexual and other experiences, but it always plays out in the aliveness of the physical, in the shaming of desire. Now, it's not only sexual desire, but as we are sexually, we are emotionally. Right? As we are sexually, we are emotionally. That is the nature of your living presence. You can't split the two. So there's a second set of double binds, which I want to call personal double binds. And what happens here is there's a kind of recapitulation of the original double bind, of the original torn apartness of I live, I die. A little later in life, we have a second set of double binds, personal double binds, where that rejection is recapitulated. So it might be your experience of a first kiss. It might be a first kiss that didn't happen. It might be when you went for it and it didn't work, or why didn't I go for it? It might be he didn't choose you because you didn't attract him. Right? Who can find that one, right? He didn't choose me because I didn't attract him. It could be that I used my attractiveness and gave myself up to people I didn't want to. It could be the girl who rejected you because you don't know even why. It could be a particular contour of your desire seems to be bad. And often we desire at night what we protest against during the day. And this is a little later in life. And we may shame our partner's sexing. And we may shame the contours of their desire. Or we may shame the lack of their desire. We may shame their yes, or we may shame their no. Right? We shame their refusal to play in our sexual scripts. And we shame our own sexual scripts that we keep hidden from our partner. Or we play, or our partner plays in our sexual script, but they withhold something of themselves, right, as a kind of slap of shame, and we feel it. And this might be in my own sexing with myself, in my self-pleasuring. It may be in my sexual relationship, right, with a partner. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Whether it's with myself, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with life. Right? There may be, right, a caress that I feel, but I know she's not, or he's not, or I'm not really in the caress. It might be a casual remark. Right? So these are the personal double binds. Now stay close for a second. And we're going to go in a few minutes, we're going to a deep exercise. But I want to get the fabric with you here. There's a third set of double binds. And the third set of double binds are cultural double binds. And double binds always mean if I live, I die. Cultural double binds. I'm the good girl, the Madonna, or I'm the whore. The way I love, the way I experience desire is somehow wronged in the eyes of everyone that I hold dear. And I desperately want their love. And yet if they knew the way I desired, they wouldn't actually love me. That can be the female voice or the male voice. We'll call that the whore Madonna double bind. And then there's the predator provider double bind. As a good man, I'm a good provider. But then what do I do when I'm called a predator? And what do I do when I feel experiences of desire that well up in me that don't fit into the provider model? Desire itself, the third cultural double bind. Masculine desire itself New York Times editorial 3.5 years ago, right? New York Times, major. No one objected to it. Masculine desire, by definition, is problematized because of its inherent brutality. Stephen S. March, M-A-R-C-H-E, I think, was how he spelled his last name. New York Times, middle of Me Too. Wow. Wow. No objection. Right? Masculine desire is inherently brutal. Wow. Right at the center of culture. And feminine desire is split off. As Professor Laura Kipnis from Northwestern University said, wasn't there even one woman in Me Too who wanted to get fucked? In the New York Times. Like there was no feminine desire at all? No one was playing? Obviously, sexual harassment's a violation. Obviously, we stand for that. But wasn't there any feminine desire at play? Who's running your fuck? So there's split off agency on the feminine side and an inherent self-perception of being brutal on the masculine side. And of course, the masculine and feminine can live on both sides of the aisle. But you get a sense of what we mean by cultural double binds. And I'll finish, and then we're going to get personal again. But there's kind of, if you would think about kind of what the meta double bind is we're shamed for what we desire and what we want. We're shamed by the rejection of our desire. We're shamed for wanting what we can't have. And we're shamed by our lack of desire for what we're supposed to want. You get that? Let me say it again. Right? We're shamed for our very desire and wanting. We're shamed by the rejection of our desire. We're shamed for desiring and wanting what we can't have. And we're shamed by our lack of desire for what we do have. And we no longer trust our bodies to tell us the truth. Wow. So I want to ask if we can, that we're going to do one more time that exercise. But I want to just see if we can unpack it to one next level for a second. Okay, so let's stay close.